For today's project, we're going to be doing a sculpture in the round, which means when you look at that sculpture from different angles, it changes the way that you would look at it. If you were a tiny human being and walking around this sculpture or walking through it, you would have different perspectives depending on your vantage point. So we're going to be using wood pieces to balance and defy gravity. So gravity wants to pull these down, but a little bit of tacky glue and a little bit of ingenuity, and we'll get our sculpture stacks to stand up. Supplies you'll need for this project are your bag of assorted wood pieces. You should have a piece of masonite as a base inside of that bag. You'll need tacky glue in some form, whether it's in a tube or in a container, your 2 washi tapes, and a stir stick for your glue. You might want to use your markers, but you don't have to. These will be able to color these raw pieces of wood very easily if you wanted to. We're going to start by taking our washi tape and coating the base however we see fit. It could be all blue, it could be all green, or it could be a combination of the two. Okay, now that you've done that and created your design, you can tuck that over and you can use scissors to cut off the excess bit of washi tape. Another clean way that you can do this is use your washi tape to wrap the edges so you don't see the wood or the scraggly bits over here. So I can use one piece of washi tape and start right on the edge and line it up and go all the way around. That's going to give you a nice, clean edge. A lot about sculpture and artwork is how you finish your piece. Are you thoughtful every step of the way? Whoops. Something like that. Washi tape is a paper tape, so you'll notice that it behaves differently. It rips a little bit more easily than other tape. Now, take your wood pieces, get them out. What a fun variety you have. Each one of these wood pieces can be stacked up. Now your goal is to defy gravity. So instead of just stacking straight up, which would easily defeat gravity, could you start to balance your pieces on their edge? Could you tip them over? Could you have them hang over the side? Start to experiment and start to glue pieces onto your sculpture stack. So you'll use a little bit of tacky glue and you'll start to build up your pieces a little bit at a time. Think about how somebody would view your sculpture if they were a tiny human being and they were walking through your sculpture. What would it look like to them? How can you make sure that there are different peek holes to look through, surprises for them to find as they travel through your sculpture? Remember, you are playing with gravity here and trying to get things to balance, but also for them to look like it might be impossible for them to do what they're doing. How can you play with this idea of different forms interacting with one another? So on this colored piece, I have all of these other ones. What if I had this sticking to it right here? Almost to stabilize it, but also to kind of play with this idea that this is the height. I could make a cage around one side. I could connect this to this, almost a little bridge type. There's all sorts of different things I can do to play. And I want you to play with balance and perspective. What does it look like to view this sculpture? You may have to hold your pieces into place for 30 seconds as the tacky glue dries, or just as if it gets strong enough to hold things into place. So now I can let that go, and it looks okay. Continue to play with balance, repeating any forms. So I have a sphere down here, and I'll put another sphere right here to match. You have so many wooden pieces to play with. Go ahead, make your sculpture into whatever you want it to be. Shift your sculpture around and look at it in different ways to see what it looks like from different vantage points. Where do you want to add? How can you make it look cool through different peek holes? Try a variety of things.